Between concrete walls, there's a place for us, where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to fight. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in no secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in a secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that I wanna go and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? What is up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. It is really good to be back with you here on a Sunday afternoon after such a long break. I have to confess, I have to do something that I hate to do on a live stream, and that is I have to say, hey, does the audio sound okay? Because my computer has had a glitch, and the thing that I usually do to let me monitor this audio isn't working. So, Blunty, how's the audio sound? You listening to the stream, or you just listening to me talk?
I just listened to you talk because of the delay.
Oh, you're not. Yeah, okay, fair. Makes sense. I'm going to assume the audio is good. No music playing in the background or any other nonsense. That's what happens when you go away for, God, it had to have been a month, right? Probably a month. And then you come back and you just sit down 15 minutes before your stream and you're like, I'm sure all my equipment works and nothing has changed. One of my audio devices seems like it's just stopped existing. So, but I'll sort that out. I'll sort that out tomorrow. Today, I'm here to stream with you. I'm here to stream with you and do a Q&A, and it's good to be back. I feel so out of touch with the world of FPV when I don't stream. So, here's what's going on. What's going on is you will ask questions here in the YouTube chat. Kim Fuse, good to see you. Holt Blackheath, good to see you. Garter Rotor, good to see you. Killdozer, oh my God, all the people are back. You guys, this is what, look here. look how it's touching how much the Discord misses me when I go away. It's touching. This is my Discord server, and this is the live stream chat channel. Look. I've just scrolling through these GIFs. This is weeks of GIFs. And I do say GIFs. I will defend that to the end of my days. Oh, you guys. I missed you too. It's good to be back, at least until the next time I go away. It's very busy. It's a very busy time. It's a very busy time. That's all I'm going to say about that. You say that FPV, some people say that FPV is dying. And my opinion is that it is not. It is dying like a caterpillar dies when it goes into a cocoon. That it's going to come out the other side and it's going to look very different. And there will still be caterpillars in the world. In this analogy, caterpillars are the FPV hobbyists. But FPV definitely isn't dying. It's just changing form. And that's why I go away so often. What can I say? So you guys are going to ask questions. You guys are going to ask questions here in the chat. Here in the Discord, of course. These guys are my patrons. And I will pay extra attention to their questions because they pay me money. You guys can also pay me money by just hitting the $ down here and leaving a super chat. I'll read those super chats a little later in the stream. And Blunty's going to be queuing those up. I got this screen over here. Blunty's queuing them up already. And yeah, that's how we're going to do it. We're going to go for about 2 hours. Pushpak Priyadarshan wants the Discord link. You got to be a patron to join the Discord. It is the one thing I reserve for patrons only. I help everybody for free without asking if they paid me money. On live streams, I give just a little bit of priority to the patrons, and of course I read the super chats. And then the only thing I hold back from the world is the Discord. You got to pay to get in. It's okay. I think it keeps out the rabble. You know what I mean? And if you're one of the rabble and you feel offended, hey, get used to it. I'm just teasing. There was a guy. He said, "You need to stop being such a digital video snob. You're always promoting digital systems and acting like analog is." And I said, hang on, I'm going to find this question. I'm going to find this quote. I was real proud of my reply. Thankfully, he took it in the spirit that it was given. Was it snob? Yeah. Why do I not see my reply to him, though? Where's my reply? Oh, 3 replies. There we go. Why don't I see the replies? That doesn't make any sense. It's freaking 2020. He said, "You are such a digital snob. Analog ain't going anywhere until digital is half the price." There we go. Analog ain't going anywhere until digital is half the price. I just bought a set of Sky Zone goggles. I plan to keep flying analog. Some of us have to pay for our gear, you know. For pity's sake, please lose the digital snobbery and admit there's a lot of benefit and mileage still in analog video. And I got to say, it gets my back up a little bit. Like, you could disagree with me. When you disagree with me in a more sort of like, you're such a snob. Some of us have to pay for our gear, you know. When you that's just a little like, I don't know. When it takes on that tone, I'm like, oh, you want to go? You want to go? So I replied, my wife read this and she was like, I can't believe people won't understand that you're joking. They'll just think you're a jerk. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But the ones who understand that I'm joking, those are the ones who really get me. And the people who think I'm a jerk, they don't get me. That's okay. I understand. Some people won't get me. I said, I want you to get a tattoo that says analog pleb. And if you do, I'll sign it, and you can tattoo over my signature and always think of me having a better video system than you when you see it. Thankfully, he said, I appreciate your sense of humor. And we are still apparently on good terms. So when I say things like, you know, if you don't pay to get on my Discord server, well, you just rabble. That's one of those little jokes I make to see if you really get me or not. And if you go, oh, that Bardwell's such a jerk, then you just don't get me, and that's okay. It's okay. I'm not for everybody. Okay. So, because, like, if you're going to be like, oh, you're such a snob, somebody's have to pay for our gear. I don't know why I would take those comments seriously, right? Like, those aren't serious comments. You're just angry and you're kind of being like, poke, poke, poke. And so I'm just going to, I'm not going to engage, like, maturely with that. We're just going to poke at each other. Fine, we'll poke at each other. Let's do it. Sometimes I'm the bigger guy. Let's do questions. We got a first question from Ola. Is the coaxial cable from Walksnail Avatar used with the Vista Air unit? No, it cannot. They have a different pinout. I'm 99% sure they have a different pinout. DJI, both of them are a MIPI connection. MIPI is a digital serial interface, or parallel. I don't know what it is. It's a digital interface. Saying MIPI is kind of like saying Ethernet, in that it is a standard for digital communication. I don't actually know a ton about MIPI. I believe that MIPI also defines the physical interface in the same way that an Ethernet cable has an RJ45 plug, but you don't have to use an RJ45 plug to use an Ethernet connection. You could define your own physical interface that no one else would support if you had a reason to do that. DJI uses a non-standard connector for their MIPI cables. Maybe it's not proprietary. Maybe it's just an obscure standard. I don't really know. But the bottom line is that you can only get DJI compatible MIPI cables for DJI systems, and they're not compatible with other like HD0 or Walksnail. So the answer to that question is no. Jerry asks, is Betaflight 4.5 all it's cracked up to be? I've tried to update 2 quads, but one had a motor that wouldn't spool up no matter what I tried. My guess is that that's an issue. Well, bear in mind, first of all, 4.5 is still in release candidate. There are still bugs. There is at least one flight controller for whom I know for a fact that bidirectional D-Shot does not work. And if you go to 4.5, you have to go into the CLI and turn off D-Shot bitbang, and then it does work. But that's a bug, and that's why 4.5 is still a release candidate and not in release. So if you have a flight controller that you flashed and a motor didn't spin, you need to just chalk that up to, hey, it's a release candidate. And you could even go in to the GitHub and search and see if that's already a reported bug, or even report it as a new bug. But that's, I think, the minority. I know a lot of people, including myself, who are running 4.5 on lots of different quads and having no issues. So there you go. Podcast, thank you for 14 South African Rand. Can't wait for the music video. Yeah, that wasn't me singing. That was AI. AI is getting scary good. Can I show you guys something? AI is getting scary good. I mean, it just keeps getting scary good. Blunty has been making these songs using AI. And I actually don't want to play too many of them here on the stream because I actually want to do a reaction video, and so I don't want to spoil my reaction. But, Blunty, what's one that you already played for me? I'm looking for...
Real quick.
Yeah.
Can you get me video in Discord?
Oh, sure, man. I'm sorry. Yes.
That's okay.
Is that working now?
Yes, that's great.
Fantastic. What's one that I already listened to?
The drone troubleshooting mastermind.
That's in our personal chat, right?
Yeah, but that's also in Livestream chat.
Okay.
You scroll up. 4:53 a.m. for me. So whatever that is for you.
What? 4:53 a.m.? Were you up at 4 a.m. making AI songs about...
I get up at like 3 every morning, so yeah.
When do you go to bed?
7 to 8, somewhere in that world.
Wow, that's an odd... Was there... I mean, you could keep whatever time you want, especially because you're sort of self-employed, but why such a... Are you like friends with someone in a different time zone?
I don't know. Just how it goes.
Oh, all right. There you go. Okay, 4:53 a.m. This is yesterday at 9 a.m. Oh, here we go.
Oh, there.
There it is. There
down,
it is. Skyward Rush.
Down.
No?
There.
Drone Troubleshooting Mastermind. Okay. So Blunty's been making a bunch of these. So you pick your lyrics and you pick your... Yeah. What's that?
You can just do it by prompt, or you can do lyrics and you enter the lyrics and then you define a style.
Yeah, the website is called Suno, S-U-N-O. Is it free?
Yeah, suno.ai. It's free for the first however many credits, and then you pay if you want to do more songs.
Okay, here we go. And there's a ton more of these. I'm not going to listen to them because I want to do a reaction video and get a sincere reaction. Because I started cracking up and I was like, this should be a video. Here we go. Can you hear it? I can't hear it. Why can't I hear it? Is it playing? I can't hear it either. My audio devices are so effed up right now. Oh, it's because I have that tab muted because it's constantly dinging. Hang on. Go.
Bardwell, the master of the drone, helps us all when our skills are unknown. From FPV newbies to experienced flyers, he's the one we always admire. Yeah. With his YouTube channel, he guides us through every step of the way. There's nothing he can't do. He breaks down problems, finds solutions that click. He's the god of drone troubleshooting.
Okay. I'm getting a big head. I don't like that. I'm embarrassed.
FPV know it
Okay. Who owns the copyright to these, Blunty?
I think Suno technically owns them, but they allow you to use them commercially.
Jesus. So
as long as you pay for it, as long as you pay like a month, then you can use them commercially.
That's entirely AI generated. In fact, the lyrics were also AI generated. What did you prompt?
Hold on, I can go look.
Yeah.
It saves everything you've ever made too. It's kind of neat.
Of course.
Let's see.
Didn't a court just rule AI generated content can't be copyrighted? Oh, that's true. I think you're right about that, Kevin Sumner. It's what's shocking to me is how comparable that is to mediocre studio music. You know, like unlicensed audio libraries where reasonably competent musicians sit down and write kind of forgettable songs for you to use as background music, you know? And like, it's shocking how you just like AI can just be like, nah, I got this.
I put the prompt in the Discord.
Let's see. Livestream chat. I don't see it. In Livestream chat? Oh, there you go. Drum and bass song about Joshua Bardwell, the god of drone troubleshooting, the FPV know-it-all, the guy who helps all the new pilots learn and makes videos for them on YouTube. That was the prompt. The future is terrifying. I feel like those you know, the workers who saw the looms, the weaving looms, and realized that the future of industrialization was going to be terrible for them, and started like breaking the looms and saying no. And of course they lost, and the world moved on without them. And it was a different world. And for those of us who grew up in that world, it's just the world that we know, and we like it, and we're used to it, you know, for the most part. But for the people who remember the world that came before and the people who lived through that transition, it was a weird and terrifying and disorienting thing. And I feel like that's coming with AI, and I have no freaking idea what the other side is going to look like. So it's insane. It's insane. What's your opinion, asks Ivan Krostov, on the Velox 1950 kV motors? The T-Motor Velox are okay budget motors. What's their price up to? They're okay. They're okay motors. $15. Like, it's hard to argue. Oops, wrong screen, sorry. It's hard to argue with a $15 motor. I think this is a solid $15 motor. That's what I would say. It's a solid $15 motor. Yep. Yeah. $15. Excuse me. $15 is a good price point for kind of like a not crappy, not like so cheap that you probably shouldn't have bought it, but like not like, you know, really just pulling money out of your wallet. $15 is a good price, and I think this is a solid motor at the $15 price point. What's Emax Eco? What's that? Emax Eco is $16. The Emax Eco is another really solid motor in that price range. I'd have to do like a good side-by-side to really compare them, like in terms of their build. Solid windings, not twisted windings. See? The Eco has multi-strand windings. That looks like a single strand winding. To me, it does. That looks like single strand winding. That's pretty slick. That's better. Yeah. And T-Motor makes good motors. Better linearity. Blah, blah, blah. Curved magnets. Bonus. Does the Eco has flat magnets? Curved magnets mean you can have a tighter air gap and can result in a more efficient motor. The other thing curved magnets do is that as the motor rotates, if you have a flat magnet, then as the motor rotates, the distance between the stator and the magnet changes. At the edge of the magnet, it's further away, then it's closer, then it's further away. And that means the magnetic field isn't quite as smooth. So some people feel that the curved magnets mean the motor runs smoother. I'll say the Velox on paper has several things that the Eco doesn't, even though the Velox is a little bit cheaper. So, obviously there's things that go into selecting a motor that don't show up on paper, but I think it's a competitive choice. Got a question here from Half Baked 210. DJI 2 pilots, 25 or 50 megabits per second. DJI has 3 50 megabit per second channels that you can use simultaneously. So I would say 50 megabits per second. And 3 pilots, 50 megabits per second. And it's only when you get up to 4 pilots that then you're out of channels. Fernando is trying to decide between Walksnail and DJI. What's a better value in VTX and cameras, or has more options? Fernando, both DJI and Walksnail are very similar in price. In fact, DJI goggles are now less expensive than the Walksnail Goggles X, which is a sentence I never thought I'd hear. So here is the latest, greatest Walksnail goggles. Hello. And hello. Like the goggles Integra. Pre-order. Still freaking pre-order? Are these still pre-order, Blunty? For real? I mean, it says pre-order here. That's shocking. That can't be. They're completely out of stock. $459 versus $349 for the goggles Integra. Can you still buy the goggles too? I think you can. And the goggles too are $449. So they are similar in price if you get the goggles too. The goggles Integra are actually a little bit cheaper. That's something. And then as far as the cameras and video transmitters go, the O3 is, I think it's $249, but prices change so quickly. Let's check. $229? $229. Again, I'm only looking at the DJI store for convenience. $229 for the O3, whereas most Walksnail camera and VTX combinations are in the $160 to $120 price range, $130. So Walksnail is going to be a little bit cheaper. I always say you should focus more on the price of the air unit and the camera than the price of the goggles, because the goggles are a one-time purchase, and then you're going to buy an air unit and camera for every quad you have. So if there's a $100 difference in the price of the goggles, you will quickly make that up if the air unit and the camera are $50 or $60 cheaper, or maybe more. So the Walksnail is going to be the most economical option. As far as the question is, what's a better value? And the value question really depends on what you get. It's not just the price, but what you get. I think that the O3 and the Goggles 2 or the Integra are overall a more compelling package than like the Walksnail. I think that it's just a more polished package. I think the range and penetration and image quality is better. Not everyone agrees with me about that. I happen to think the people who disagree are crazy, but I do respect their opinion. I don't think that they're necessarily wrong. But I personally think the O3 has better range penetration and image quality. Where the Walksnail really shines, though, is in the options. So Walksnail has a really excellent low-light camera, the Walksnail Pro camera. Walksnail has a racing mode where it goes down to 540 resolution and the latency becomes much lower and more consistent. DJI doesn't have that. Walksnail has HDMI output straight out of the goggles. DJI doesn't have that. You have to get a Cosmo streamer that I made a video about recently. Walksnail has a 1S Tiny Whoop VTX that you can put on a little 2-inch drone, or even a 65mm, although it's a little heavy for that. Walksnail has they have a huge variety of different cameras, different video transmitters for different purposes, and they're just a better all-round platform. Walksnail has better better Betaflight OSD integration. Walksnail is a better all-round platform. The Walksnail goggles have AV input for use with an analog adapter. Although it's not as good as a pure analog goggle, it's still better than nothing. So if what you want is to get into that beautiful gilded cage of DJI and close and lock the door, and you get what you get, every day DJI comes along and hands you a plate of food, and you cannot leave the cage, and you cannot send the food back, and if you don't like what you got, too bad, today you're eating quinoa. That's what DJI is serving today. And you say, excuse me, DJI, I don't really like quinoa. Could I possibly get some stir-fried vegetables? Could I possibly get some cake? And DJI says, who? What? Is someone talking? That's DJI. If you like what they're serving, then it's good food. But if you want anything other than what they're serving, tough, you're screwed. And Walksnail is going to be more options and more variety. Walksnail has more bugs too. Seems like everything Walksnail releases, it fixes 2 bugs and introduces 1 new one. Not that DJI has no bugs, but DJI generally has a better track record of releasing buggy stuff. Okay, I'm being told that we lost the YouTube chat. Sit tight. It should be back now. I don't know where it went, but it should be back now. Valenti, I think it's back now. Thank you for the...
Yeah, it's back.
Okay. I don't know what happened. Maybe it wasn't in the foreground. Walksnail's like the food truck that has falafel and tacos and burgers and sushi. And every so often, when you eat at that food truck, you get food poisoning. DJI is like a restaurant with a 99 on the health and safety score, and the food is pretty good, but they only serve one thing. That's a great analogy. Yep. It's a great analogy. Pitch 83 wants to know, for the maximum range, is it worth putting an antenna with an extension cable on a high pole? Would the LNA help offset signal loss due to the long cable? Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if the LNA helps offset signal loss due to the long cable. At the end of the day, on the receive side, you can't really amplify out the noise. What you want to do is you want to get a cable with minimum loss and then have a higher gain antenna, or gain enough from raising the antenna that you offset the loss of the cable. So I was shopping recently for a cable to go up a 20-foot mast. And like I spec'd different thicknesses of coax, and I ended up going with a type of coaxial cable that was like two levels thicker than was necessarily required, because I wanted to be absolutely sure I was minimizing the loss of the cable and getting as much benefit as I could from the system. As far as how much you will gain by raising an antenna up, that depends on how far away your drone is and how many obstacles and how much terrain is between you and the drone. If you're flying relatively close, you won't benefit much from raising the antenna. If you're flying 5 or 10 kilometers out, you will benefit, and it's probably worth it. Mupshot asks, on Tiny Whoops and 1S micros with 1002 motors, so many of them have motor twitch on arm, but they fly once spun up. How can I adjust so the motors spin reliably on arm? Mupshot, there's two approaches I would take to this. One is that some ESC firmware has a startup strength, okay? And it will kick the motors harder to get them spinning. The other thing is that you might need a higher idle speed, okay? Those are the two things. One thing to keep in mind is if you raise the startup strength, it does increase the likelihood that you'll fry the motors if the ESC tries to spin the motor and it can't spin the motor. How much does it increase the likelihood? I don't know, but it does increase the likelihood. So you don't necessarily want to just jack the startup strength to max and leave it there. You could raise the idle speed. That's the other thing you can do. Of course, that'll affect how you fly. Jerry 4X wants to know, I have a question. Oh, no, these are old questions. Why are these still in the queue? What did I do wrong, Blunty? I did something wrong. Am I putting them back in the queue?
Yeah, you're putting them back in the queue.
Why were they still there at all?
Because that's how the queue works.
Okay. Cool.
And unless you refresh the screen, they stay there. So,
Filter.
like, if you click on the queue button at the bottom and the back, they'll go away. If
They
they're gone.
usually disappear? I thought they disappeared, Blunty.
I think it's been a minute.
Okay. I'm out of practice. Have you or chat heard of any reports of actual enforcement of remote ID since the date has passed? No, I haven't. I mean, the enforcement date just passed. I think it was the 16th. I assume that we'll see some. We'll see how that plays out. Let's do super chats. I'm going to skip and do the super chats. We got that one from Podcast. We got one here from ZLB07, who asks, what would you recommend as a build list for a drone to film drag races, including race bikes, so fast? Thank you for a $20 super chat, ZLB07. The first question you have to ask is, what is your top speed that you need to achieve? And the second question you need to ask is, how long do you need to hold that speed? Now, the good news is that if you're filming drag racing, you don't need to hold the speed very long, and you don't need to go very far. You're going to go about a quarter mile, right? And your top speed is, let's say your top speed is going to be as much as 150 miles an hour. I don't know. How fast does a race bike, a drag racing bike go? Drag racing cars, if you're hitting, 150 miles an hour on the quarter, you're going pretty damn fast. Let's see. How fast is an 8-second quarter mile? Your trap speed is, well, it's 170 to 190. That's pretty fast. So I feel like there aren't a lot of drag cars at the strip on the weekend that are going to be going that fast. I just picked 8 seconds because that was like the lowest I thought like a sort of normal car might be able to hit. I think that might have been a little aggressive. So maybe a 9 or 10 second quarter mile is more realistic. Nobody really. Controller Man Dan, how many people are hitting 200 miles an hour at on the weekend at the drag strip? If I could be wrong, that feels pretty far out though. Maybe I'm wrong. You're gonna struggle to build a drone that can go 200 miles an hour. A drone that goes 150, 160 miles an hour is fairly doable. Above that, you're going to want aero. You need aero. So you can go 300 kilometers an hour on 6S with the right props and good aero. But if you're just going to build a drone and you're not going to put aero into it, then like fairings and stuff, then you're going to top out around 150, 160, unless you do something really extraordinary. So I would say that you could look at 6S 2700 kV for the motors, get a really good quality ESC, set the timing to high, set DMAG compensation to max, and start playing with that. With the right props, you'll hit 150, 160 miles an hour with a 6S 2700 kV setup. You're going to need a very good ESC, or you're going to smoke the ESC or smoke motors. But I think that's doable. And as the Roberito points out, you're only going to hit that speed at the very end of the strip. What you need is to keep up for the first, 8 or 10 or 9 seconds. And so at the beginning, the car's going to outrun you. Because you're going to have to lay back. That's my point. At the beginning, if you just jump off the blocks, you'll beat the car to the quarter mile and it won't even see it because the drone accelerates so much faster. So you're going to start after the cars start and you're going to accelerate with them, and they're only going to be going max speed for the very end of the run. So maybe you don't even need to go 150 miles an hour. Maybe you could build like 2100 kV 6S. And your top speed is, say, going to be 100 to 120 miles an hour at the most. But okay, so for the last 2 seconds of the run, the cars pull away from you while you kind of climb, and you don't follow them right across the quarter mile, right on their tail. That's okay. So yeah, I'd say start with something like, I think 21 or 2200 kV 6S on 5-inch props. That's going to be much less likely to blow your ESCs and is pretty achievable by a normal person. The other thing is you're going to need a ton of batteries because you're just going to smoke batteries. You'll get 1 or 2 runs and then you'll be done with your battery. But that's pretty achievable. Here's a question from DHB who says, I'm back after a long break. First flight since August. Are the current Betaflight tutorials still pretty relevant? Yeah. I still don't have a Betaflight 4.5 build, but my 4.3, my 2023 build series is still pretty relevant. And even on 4.5, it's still pretty close to accurate. DJI Country Code issue, says Cowpunk Town. Thank you for $5. I don't know, Cowpunk Town, you were talking about this with me on the Patreon. I don't know what's the DJI Country Code issue. You described it to me. I haven't experienced it. So I don't know how to tell you to fix it. You must be having this problem. Country code not activated. I've never had this problem, and I've actually never heard of this problem. This is from 2021.
We had one of these problems in the Discord like 3 months ago, and it was solved by them getting on a VPN and activating in America.
Okay. What causes the issue?
There's something weird about some of the locations you activate in that it gives you this country code issue, and I didn't even think that was a thing. Mm-hmm. But then somebody in Discord had that problem and solved it by using a VPN.
Because here's the thing: the goggles Integra have GPS, but the G2 and the O3 don't have GPS. So the idea that like you're in the wrong country, the O3 and the G2 have no idea what country you're in.
I think it's the country that you're in when you activate the IP address on the DJI Assistant. That's what I'm saying. Or the Fly app. Like basically the IP address of the country you're in. I can only say that's true because I saw somebody solve it through VPN.
Okay, so the answer is
Yeah.
VPN to the United States and update your firmware and see if that fixes it.
That's what I would try.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hope that helps. Let us know if that helps so we can have 2 data points instead of 1. Oh, wrong screen. Boom, boom, boom. This is going super well, Blunty. After a long trip, going super well.
Yeah, pretty good.
You're so positive. It was after I screwed up my audio drivers. I'm thinking about updating. Okay, I'm thinking about updating my computer to Windows 11. Bunty, I've resisted for a long time because I don't want to screw up my work setup.
Is there a reason to do that? I don't know that there's a reason to do that since you have to work off that computer. That's where my head goes.
That's where my head's been. I have been working on a machine with Windows 11 for the last couple weeks, and I kind of like Windows 11.
I mean, I like 11. And there's a lot of 11 haters out there. I've seen a lot of them. I love 11 personally. I've got all fixes for the little things I hate. However, if I had to live from my machine broadcasting and working properly, I'm like 50-50 on whether I would actually do it or not.
So here's what I'm going to do. I like 11 too. I think that a lot of the ways that they have, it's weird because Windows has all this DNA from the past where like there's dialog boxes from like Windows 7 that if you dig deep enough, you'll hit a window, like an old dialog box, right? Like, here we are in the settings. Oh, so clean. Okay, if I go to network and internet, oh, so clean. Oh, if I hit properties, oh, so good, right? But if I dig really deep, if I dig deep enough, I'll get the original control panel. No, I can't find it. Of course, I'm trying to do a demonstration and I can't find it. Oh, here's the old. I remember when this was the new hotness. No, remember this? We're going back in time. Network and sharing center. Change adapter settings. Oh, here we go. Remember this? Properties. Oh, yeah. This dialog box. I've been looking at this dialog box since like Windows 98. Right? Oh my God. Good old TCP/IP. I've been looking at this. So, but I really like how Windows 11 has repackaged a lot of the settings. I think they're a lot more intuitive. I like the UI. The Explorer has some. Anyway, I kind of like it. I'm thinking about switching. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to image this partition. I'm going to do a disk image. So if I don't like it, I could just roll it back. Yeah. Anyway, maybe. I'm thinking about it. No, I know. That's my point, is despite the fact that Windows 11 has cleaned up a lot of the interface, if you dig deep enough, old shit from the year 2000 is still there. Because that's how life will always be.
Let's talk about printer drivers.
Will my printer not work?
No, I'm just saying printer drivers are the oldest thing I think on the. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
The print spooler service and the idea of how a printer driver works to me seems like the oldest thing. Yeah. Unless something recently changed, because it's a nightmare.
Yeah. Felix FPV, I know that. By the way, Speed Limit Challenger, I know I haven't gotten to your question. Felix FPV asks, can you review the Caddx Moonlight? Yes, I can. I did. Like 2 months ago. I don't understand sometimes. I don't understand. Like, take 1 second and just Google Joshua Bardwell Caddx Moonlight. I don't understand. Yes, I can. Good news! You wanted me to do a thing. I've done it. Enjoy. I'm not mad about it. I'm not one of those just Google it people. I think that's kind of shitty to do to people When people ask on Reddit or they ask on Facebook a question and people are like, just Google it. That's shitty. I don't do that. And I'm not doing that to you right now. I do kind of, when people ask, hey, will you make a video about a particular product? And I already did. It's like so straightforward to just Google before you ask. And then you could have been watching that video all this time that you've been, I wish Bardwell would make a video about this product. You could have been watching it. I just feel bad for you that you wasted time. Speed Limit Challenger asks, I have a Flylens 85 analog and I broke the camera. Get FPV lists the camera as a Caddx H1, but I can't locate the part. Could a Rotel 2 be a replacement? So you just want to make sure you buy the right size of camera. That's the main thing. If you get the right size of camera, you're probably going to be okay. Oh yeah, let's have an 85 millimeter with a GPS. That makes sense. Makes total sense. Oh, this is a weird one. Oh, don't do that. Let me get a look at this camera. Okay. I see. There's the analog. That looks like a standard camera. I'm going to guess it's 14 millimeter. What size is this camera? Is it an H2 or an H1? What is it listed as? Blundy, what does the question say? I can't see it right this second. Is it H1 camera?
Hold on.
Can you see? Oh, you can't see either.
I cleared it, but it's okay. I have a Flylens and
H1.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Yeah, I got it. Where's the H1? You can't find the H1. I can't find that it exists at all. Like, surely this is a 14 millimeter camera, though, right? Surely. You're right. This camera doesn't exist. What the hell? Oh, there it was. I found it. There it was. Caddx H1. Here we go. $9. Well, I may have found the camera for you, so there's that. Go. Looks like you can buy the H1 if you really want to from AliExpress. I'm going to guess that you don't want to do that. I just need the dimensions. It's a 19 millimeter. Okay, so yeah, that's a 19 millimeter camera. You can buy just about any micro-sized camera and it'll work. 19 millimeter is the most common FPV camera size. Just make sure it's a 19 millimeter or micro camera. Skyrot says it says micro. Yeah, I don't trust that though. I wouldn't buy a camera based on the fact that it says micro. Almost always a 19 millimeter camera is described as micro, but I wouldn't count on it. Sometimes there's some shenanigans. The Caddx Baby Rotel 2 is suggested by Xscape. There's lots of good 19 millimeter cameras. You should just pick one of them. Continuing the super chats, Bun Troll says, I got a spare SpeedDB F7 stack and 5-inch drone. Suggestions for what to do with the stack for a fun build. DJI O3 preferred. You want to do something other than a 5-inch? I don't know if I would use a 30 by 30 stack on a much smaller than a 5-inch. So I would go up. I would build a 7-inch. 7 inches are fun as heck. Build a 7-inch. I mean, since you're asking. Thank you, Sartak, for 100 rupees. Appreciate that donation. Don't see a question from you. Hazaret asks, I made the switch to HD0 and ordered it last week. Any ideas on how long the shipping takes? Thank you for $5, Hazaret. You got to ask HD0, Hazaret. They ship from California, so if you're in the U.S., you could get it in just a couple days if it was in stock. But it varies depending on where they ship from. Sometimes they're out of stock in California, so they have to ship from China, and then it takes longer. If you really want, I mean, you have a tracking number, right? So don't ask me. Ask them. Probably going to enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. And that is, I think that's all the super chats. No, we got one here from Christopher Blackledge for $2. Christopher Blackledge says, I need help binding my E8 transmitter to a bind and fly Meteor 65 Free Sky. What is an E8 transmitter?
I'll just say real quick.
That's the Emacs one. Yeah.
There's more context on another message you sent, which says, but on Betaflight, the controller moves. I'm trying to change map control, but does that mean it's bound to the M65? So I think he's bound. He just needs to change his mappings on the receiver tab by changing the order of the letter.
Because I don't think you can change the mapping on the transmitter is the problem. So what you're going to need to do is go into Betaflight. Go into Betaflight, go to the receiver tab, and change your channel map. So your channel map will say something like AETR 1234. And you need to change it to something like RETA 1234, ATER 1234, TEAR 1234, TAER. You need to rearrange those letters in the way that makes your channels be correct. Okay? And then once you do that, you save and reboot, and once you do that, everything will be okay. We got a super chat here from Ben Knechel, who says, my HD0 VTX cuts out when I flip or roll. I'm powering it off the 9-volt pad on the JB flight controller. Should I try powering it from VBAT? Yeah. A long time ago, there was a batch of the V1 JBF7 that had a bad 9-volt regulator, and it would do this. I'm going to guess you don't have the V1 JBF7 because that's super old, like years ago. But if you do, that could be what's happening. Either way, I would move it to VBAT and see if that fixes it. Okay. Blup wants to know, can I use the Walksnail goggles with a Nintendo Switch over HDMI? Please don't ask why. I don't... Okay, so... my understanding is that the Nintendo Switch's HDMI output is wonky, and you can't just plug a USB to HDMI cable in, because the Nintendo Switch needs... there are special HDMI USB cables just for the Nintendo Switch. It has something to do with how the Switch gets power. I don't remember the exact details. But if you just plug a normal USB to HDMI cable into the Switch, it doesn't work. But you can either use the Switch dock, which has a proper HDMI out, or you can buy... I was looking into this recently because my kid has a Nintendo Switch, but the dock, the dock is lost or broken. I don't remember. And I was like, well, that's a shame. Plus, if you're traveling, do you really want to take the whole dock with you? And so I thought, maybe I just buy. So you can buy a USB-C to HDMI cable for Nintendo Switch. These are not official Nintendo accessories. But if you have one of these, then yes, my understanding is it will work. That's my understanding. And yes, you can run that into the Walksnail goggles. I don't see why not. I mean, it's just an HDMI input, right? Can you tell me the difference between using the DJI Fly app and using HDMI out with the G2s? Cali FPV, thank you for a $5 super chat. The DJI Fly app displays the image on your phone. That's it. At that point, if you need to get that image on a different display, your options are very limited. There are apps that will cast your phone screen to a display, like if you have a Roku or some other, or you have a smart TV. There are apps that will cast your phone screen to that TV. And so then you would theoretically be putting the image from the DJI goggles onto that television. But some of the downsides of that include, number one, the wireless link can be pretty glitchy. Number two, the casting app can reduce the quality of the picture significantly. And so there are people who want a proper HDMI output from the goggles. They don't want to have this third-party app that's screencasting to a TV, and then the TV has got a screencasting app, and that could there's all these failure points. This is especially true for, like, if you're just trying to show your feed to, like, your friends, yeah, plug it into your phone. Run the DJI Fly app. Hold up your phone. Do whatever. But if you actually are, like, doing something for broadcast, if you are a professional and you are live casting a sports event, or if you're a professional and there's a director of photography who wants to look at your feed, or if you're working on a set, a lot of times on a set, what'll happen is there will be, they call it, I've heard it called Video Village. I don't know if every set calls it Video Village, but basically all of the feeds from all of the cameras go to one central location. And then there is a mixer there that sends those feeds out to different monitors. To one of these feeds goes up to the satellite so the network can broadcast. One of them goes to the camera truck so the camera crew can do whatever they're doing. Okay. And so you as the drone operator will just be one of many feeds coming into the Video Village. And then the producers of the event will be doing whatever they want with your feed. And so in a situation like that, you have to have an HDMI output. And even in fact, that HDMI output will probably go into something like there's a box called a decimator, and the decimator will convert that to SDI, and the SDI cable will go over to Video Village, right? But you can't just say, it's okay, guys, I'm gonna put it on my phone and then I'll Chromecast it to you. That's not gonna cut it. Likewise, if you're doing something like a race, and I know that racing with DJI is, we don't do that, right? But there are people who race with DJI. And the Knoxville drone racing community, usually when there's a racing day, there will be one heat or one race specifically for digital pilots so they can get in on the action. And the capture cards, you couldn't capture 4 video feeds from 4 sets of HD goggles if you were just screencasting off a phone. Well, you technically probably could, but it would be janky as heck, and it's just better to have a wired cable. So that's the difference. There are times when you absolutely want the reliability of an HDMI cable and nothing else, and that's the benefit. Dukash Mishmol says, hello from Switzerland. You're the instruction goat for FPV. You're making monkeys fly the way you explain things. Finally, some friends considering to fly FPV again after years. Big thank you. Thank you for a 10 Swiss francs. And if you're in Ticino, say hello to my editor, for Fabio Pansera. He lives in Ticino. With a name like Dukash Mishmol, I'm going to guess you're not Italian. So you may not live in Ticino. But any opinion on the hopefully upcoming DJI Avata 2? Thank you for a 20 Danish kroner. Christian Lundsberg, I have nothing to say about the upcoming DJI Avata 2. Almost as if I wasn't allowed to talk about it. Thank you for your donation. Okay. I think that's it. We're caught up on the super chats. Let's roll back and get some chats from the folks who just the plebs, the rabble. On Tiny Whoops and 1S Micros with 1002 motors. Oh, wait. Dagnabbit, Blunty? What the hell is going on here, dude? What am I doing wrong? I'm just clicking on the ones I've already clicked on. I'm out of practice, man.
On the bottom next to the little play button. The purple buttons down there?
Yeah.
Click on that. Yeah. Okay, now click it again. Now you should only see questions you haven't done.
But I don't think did I always have to do that? I don't remember doing that. They just went away.
I've been doing that since I started using the app. So But the thing is, when you
I'm
click
having
the
a-
button to go to
Yeah.
Super Chats, it should clear when you go back.
But
to
I
the
didn't do
screen.
that this time because I know
That's
that
why.
it clears the pins.
Yeah,
So
I
scrolled
repinned them
through.
because I assumed they were going to go away. Because I learned that now. So yeah, just click on the Super Chats and come back. Because I'll just
So
repin them
professional.
because I've learned to do that now.
We're so professional.
Yeah.
I'm so. You're very professional. I'm a total hack. I don't know why anybody hires me. I certainly wouldn't. I'm having a real Mandela effect situation here where I'm sure that it was different, but I can't prove it. Question from Matt Morphix says, can you theoretically put 4 analog TXs on a drone every 480p and transmits only 1/4 of the image and put them on the goggle and stitch videos from them? I mean, theoretically, that's a thing that could be done. It would require custom hardware and it would add latency. And at that point, why wouldn't you just go with digital? But theoretically, that's a thing that could be done. There's no off-the-shelf hardware that does that. Zbluga wants to know, my Avatar V2 doesn't go out of low power mode when armed. OSD works. What's the problem? Zbluga, I don't know. Because if your OSD works, then you must have MSP. Right? Has to be. Go to your ports. What's that, Blunty? Yeah.
Isn't this a thing where one of the wires can be disconnected and it still shows OSD?
Oh my God, yes!
I think that's how that works, right?
Were you in on that call? This was a troubleshoot I did just recently. And
No,
the
but
dude
I've heard this before, so...
So this is yes, no, you reminded me. I hadn't got there yet. I might not have been going to get there. No, I had this in my emails like 2 weeks ago, and I was absolutely stumped because I was like, if you have working OSD, how could you not also have working MSP connection to notice that you're armed? But the guy came back to me and he said the problem was that either his TX or his RX wire, I don't remember which, had come desoldered or broken. So you have a broken TX or RX wire, I don't remember which, and you need to go back and check your wires. That's 100% what it is. What a great team, Blunty. By team, I mean you carrying me.
Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. Brandon Bean says, my friend just had this issue. It tripped me out. Brandon, was that the same thing? How about that? Gamer SG says, is DRL sim good for cinematic practice? I think that for a cinematic practice, you're going to want a sim where you can like chase a car or chase a vehicle. So I would choose the Trip TRYP simulator for that. I don't think DRL has car chasing, although maybe they've added it and I missed it. Brandon Bean says he tried a new UART and it worked. I bet it was rewiring the cables that fixed it. Killdozer says there was only one set of footprints in the sand, and that was when Bardwell realized Blunty was carrying him. Blunty, you're Jesus.
I have been called that.
You've got the hair for it. The other thing I wonder if Betaflight will let you have the HD OSD on the peripherals, but not MSP on the MSP column.
I don't think it actually calls the... I don't think MSP requires both directions. I think it's something about the specific command for arming that requires the other direction than the OSD does or something. That's my memory of what's happening.
Yeah.
Because I think it was happening before they added that HD thing. And I think the HD thing requires MSP. Like, if you enable the HD, I think MSP just clicks on.
I think so,
That's
too.
my memory. Okay.
Like, if you turn it off, what would happen? Like, because the user's going to break things.
Right, that's true. Like, if you flipped it and then unflipped it, I don't know.
Harit Aizpura asks, I want to start FPV. I would like to fly cinematic in the mountains. Is a 4-inch a good option for starting an FPV? Well, a 4-inch is not a good option for cinematic in the mountains, for the record. 4 inches can do longer range flying, but in the mountains, you're going to have a lot of wind, and 4 inches are not great in the wind. You're going to want something like a 7-inch or and up for mountain flying. 4 inch is a good option for starting, though, but I recommend everybody start in the simulator. In the beginning, you have no muscle memory, and you're going to crash a lot and not really know how to fly. And so I think you should get minimally competent in the simulators, and then you can go to a 4 or 5 inch, 3 inch, whatever you want. I definitely would not start on a 7 inch, though. So start in the simulator, get to a point where you can fly around in the simulator, maybe even do a basic race course, and then get a real drone and get competent in a real drone. Kickflip. I'm going to address Kickflip's question, even though on some level I feel like it's a mistake. But you know me. I can't resist taking the bait. And I feel like Kickflip is not alone in asking this question. Have you considered interviewing Philly Drone Life? Bachgrinder interviews him. It's interesting the things he said, referring to the community, leaving him at the side of the road without hearing his side of the story. So I watched that. Blunty, did I respond to this in a previous live stream? I can't remember. I talked about it with maybe you, but I think it was offline.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't remember it being a clip.
Okay. This will be my official response to people who say, I saw Bachgrinder's interview with Philly Drone Life, and then, and will you interview him? Oh no, I remember. I remember who I talked about that with. I think. I'll start by saying that what has happened to Mikey is wrong. It's wrong. That doesn't mean that I support the things that Mikey did. It doesn't mean that I don't think that Mikey screwed up. I think that Mikey screwed up. I think he has mishandled the entire situation, and that he has in many ways dug his own hole. But he doesn't deserve, and I don't think anybody deserves, $180,000 in fines for the things that he did. Even though I think that some of the things he did, like, I am not a person who says, you must obey all the rules, and if you don't, then you get what's coming to you. When I drive on the highway, my standard cruise control is 9 miles over the speed limit. Because 5 miles over the speed limit, they don't even look at you. And my theory is that 9 miles over the speed limit, they're going to let it slide. And so that's, I would go faster if I thought I wouldn't get a ticket. So I'm not just a person who just obeys the rules because the rules exist. But some of Mikey's flights, I like flights over people, flights over roads. I personally don't feel comfortable with that. I don't like the thought that my drone could come crashing down on somebody's windshield while they're driving, damage somebody's car, maybe cause an accident, maybe hit a pedestrian in the head. Like, even though those things are extremely unlikely, and the fact that that's never happened, given the fact that Mikey at least appears to be a very reckless pilot, although he claims that many of those things are just hamming it up for the camera, and he's actually safer. I can't speak to that. But despite the fact that, Mikey's never had, caused injury or property damage, as far as I'm aware. I haven't seen all his videos. But I don't agree with all of his flights. But he still doesn't deserve a $180,000 fine. That's just stupid. But he does this interview with Bachgrinder. And I watched the interview. I did. I watched the whole thing. And the things that he says in the interview are not credible. Like he says, I went into this interview with the FAA, and we talked about the situation, and they said I was good. I don't remember his exact wording, but his wording, his story is that he walked out of the interview with the FAA with the idea that the issue was closed and he was good to go. And then the FAA changed their mind and came back after him. And he's like, oh, how did this happen? And the thing is, I know that didn't happen the way he describes it. I know that because I am privy to information about how the FAA behaves in this situation. And I have factual evidence of how they've behaved in the past with other pilots. And what they have done in the past, they will not say if they think you've committed a violation, right? If they think you didn't commit a violation, this was just bullshit and you're good to go, they'll say, okay, the issue's closed. But in Mikey's case, there is no question that the FAA believed he committed violations and that they didn't go into this interview with him and say, oh, the evidence was wrong. We don't believe you committed a violation. What I believe they said was, now that we have educated you, we will not pursue this any further. Please don't do it again. And that's how the FAA often behaves. They call the pilot in. They say, the things you did were wrong. Don't do them again. Do we understand each other? Yes? Have a good day, sir. But if then you go out there and you keep doing the things, they go, oh, I see. I guess our conversation wasn't productive. Now we are going to throw the book at you. So my theory is that when Mikey walked out of there, everybody was smiles and giggles and chuckles and handshakes. And then Mikey went back to doing exactly what he was doing, which is not speculation. That is a fact. You could just look at his channel and see that he kept doing the things the FAA didn't want him to do. And the FAA went, oh, okay, fine. So like when I watch the interview with Bachgrinder, the things he says, if he believes them, he's wrong. He has misunderstood the situation, and that is why he's dug his own hole for the last 5 years. And the situation has gotten so dire that now the FAA wants $180,000 from him. And in that respect, the single biggest piece of advice I would give to him is that he has consistently misjudged the situation for the last 5 years. The things he has done have made it worse. And he needs to get good advice from somebody and listen to that advice, because he is making the situation worse, not better, with every move that he makes. That would be my advice. And so people say, will you interview him? No, I will not interview him for 2 reasons. Number 1 is that the things he says aren't credible. And number 2 is that the things he's saying aren't helping him. Me giving him a voice will just give him an opportunity to dig his hole even deeper. The best single thing I can do for him is to not give him a voice and to help him shut the F up and stop making things worse and encourage him. Mikey, I'm talking to you. Get a lawyer. Call the FPV Freedom Coalition and say, hey, I'm getting effed here. What should I do? And then do what they say. Or I'm not even going to try to advise you. But if you watch that video and you think, Jesus Christ, I feel bad for this guy. Me too. Me too. But if you watch that video and you think, wow, I never knew his side of the story, then I think you've been snowed. Because his side of the story is not credible if you know anything at all about how the FAA operates. The only thing you should think when you watch that interview is, this guy had no freaking idea what was going on, and he made some huge mistakes, and now he's paying for them. He should have walked out of that first interview with the FAA, and he should have never violated another FAA regulation again. At least not on camera. Because once you're in the scope, once you've had that call and they've said, this is your warning, don't do it again, they will absolutely roast you if you do it again. That was your chance to get out of jail free. And it's not fair. It's not fair. And it feels wrong. And here's the other thing I'll say. Last thing I'll say about this, and then we will move on. When I watched the interview with Bachgrinder, I was disappointed. Because I respect civil disobedience. I don't always agree with it. But I respect the use of civil disobedience I respect when a person puts their own ass on the line and says, I believe in a thing, and I will stand up for it even though it will hurt me. I respect that. We could disagree about the thing you're standing up for, but if you're putting your own ass on the line and you're getting your ass beat for a thing you believe in, I tip my hat to you. But Mikey, he's been violating all these rules. And he says these charges are unjust, these rules are wrong. And then when it comes time for his own ass to be on the line, he doesn't stand up and go, I'm a martyr here. This is wrong. I will go down, but I will go down fighting. He just is like, I didn't know. It's so unfair. Like, you know, your art. So it's not even like you're just a dude who just didn't give a fuck and did stupid shit and had no idea you were about to get steamrolled. Like, you're not even like a fighter for a cause. Because if you were a fighter for a cause, now that the hammer is coming down, you would go, good. Everybody watch it crush me and see how unfair this is. And you get inspired and fight for me while I go down. But you're not even doing that. Which, given that you're about to get crushed anyway, you could at least have some dignity about it. But no. It's just a pity party, as Joseph Dahari says. The time for a pity party is over. It's over. Which you don't realize, Mikey. You're so far past the time when you could have made your situation better by asking for help. All these interviews you're doing, there are people who watch them and they're like, oh man, this Mikey guy, that was 4 years ago was when you should have done that. Except it was too late then too, anyway. It's too late, dude. The thing you need to do is get a lawyer and shut the frick up. Get a lawyer and shut up. And stop posting videos to your channel and making things worse. That's what you need to do, Mike. And that's why I won't be interviewing him. Fair enough? But I want people to know, if he feels hung out to dry, the reason I'm hanging him out to dry is because he's not doing himself any damn favors. Every time he opens his mouth, he makes the situation worse. And I don't think he deserves to get roasted like this. But me giving him an interview, or Bachgrinder giving him an interview, is not making his situation better. It's making it worse. Anyway. Okay. Blunty, before we move on, and did you see any comments that deserve to be responded to? Because I was ranting, and I wasn't watching the comments.
No.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Can't wait till it's my turn. I don't know. Maybe my turn will never come. If my turn does come, if the FAA comes after me for something that they think I've done, and Lord knows there's enough people out there who try to report me to the FAA because they don't like me. So far, I have not gotten a call from the FAA. I am sure that the FAA is aware that I exist, and I'm sure that someone at the FAA has looked at my channel and gone, is this guy breaking the rules? Can we get him? Can we prove it? And I'm sure that they will wait until the time of their choosing when it will have the correct PR effect to decide when they go after me, if they do think they've got me. My hope is that there's nothing on my channel that can be used as evidence that I'm breaking the rules. But if that day comes, I certainly hope that I handle it with some dignity and some class. I don't whine about it. Don't whine. Jesus Christ. Would analog be better for beginners from a cost perspective? I've killed 2 1S Walksnail Lite VTXs. Yeah, Tremor, I have heard too many stories of the 1S Walksnail Lite dying. I actually killed one in my Flywoo video. I'm not saying that they are not reliable, but they're probably less reliable than analog. So maybe analog. The Walksnail costs more. That's true. XJet, where's that comment? That's so silly.
Don't get one guide. Don't get one guide in the chat.
What's that?
Don't get one guide. Do you know that term?
What's one guy?
When one guy says something and all the rest of the chat doesn't care, and then you end up arguing with one guy back and forth on a live stream for 5 minutes.
Is that what's happening? Guide. Is that what's happening with Bagzilla?
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. XJet says video can't be used as proof. Good luck with that. What did they use to go after Philly Mikey? They used his live streams. Can it be used as proof? Video absolutely can be used as proof. This argument that, oh, it's uploaded to YouTube, it could just be edited. It could be. You know, it's not going to... Good luck. Good luck making that case in court. Oh, but it was in Mexico. I saw this video for... Oh, fuck, what's the guy's name? He's the long-haired guy with the glasses. He looks like one of the gorillas. He looks like... Who am I thinking of, Plenty? He looks like one of the gorillas. You know, the animated band. He's like, oh, all my flights are in Mexico, so I don't need remote ID. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Like, good luck with that. Grim Ripper, thank you. That's it. Video cannot be used as proof. In order to come after you, they need to establish when the flight occurred, and they need to establish where it occurred, that it was within the U.S. Those are the two sort of first steps. That's why I think they used his live streams, because the live stream fairly, like, theoretically you could be restreaming a recording, but I feel like that was, you know, plausible enough that he was live, and they had the location, he had his GPS coordinates on screen. So video cannot be used as proof. The idea that if you just say, I found this SD card with all this footage on it, and I think it was in Mexico, and then you just go rip. Like, that's like saying, officer, I don't know where that bag of marijuana came from. It was in my car, but I guess somebody planted it there. It's not mine. And then, aha, the police can't come after you if you just say the magic words. XJet says a lot of things that are not as true as XJet thinks they are. So he's right about a lot of things, but a lot of people believe him and in ways that don't line up with the real world. With all due respect to XJet, who I do, in fact, I respect him a lot. All right, moving on. Is there any FPV drone aerial boundary like DJI has? No, for self-built drones, there's no geofencing. You can fly them wherever you want. It may not be legal, but yeah.
Just to be clear, they do have a range limit, though.
Well, sure. You mean you'll run out of range? Yeah.
I just wasn't sure if this was a weird translation and he actually meant, is there a range limit? So I was wondering.
Yeah, everything has a range limit. It varies. You'll run out of signal, though.
No, but DJI has a hard limit. Another thing I saw. That's all that I was wondering if that was what he was trying to find out.
I feel like he's asking about geofencing, though.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, you could be right. Aerial boundary. Yeah. DJI has a hard limit of either 13 kilometers for the V2 system or I think 23 kilometers for the O3. But other systems don't have that. What's up with the BMI 270 bug you covered in the news? Does it even matter if I don't use angle mode? No, I don't think it matters. There are plenty of flight controllers with that BMI 270 still out there. Yeah, that's true. Send your drone. Blunty, was that BMI 270 bug only with a particular version of Betaflight? Is that fixed at all?
There's going to be. I think there's some attempt to fix it in 4.5 RC3, or I don't know if it made it in and it's going to be in 4.5. I don't know exactly where it's landing. But I think there's some attempt to fix it in the software. But I think the general idea is that it's still in the list. As far as I've seen, it's still in the recommended. Manufacturers do not use this gyro sort of thing. So does it affect you only? Does it affect you at all if you fly in like
acro mode? I guess it's still
No,
GPS rescue uses the accelerometer.
That's the thing. If you use a GPS rescue or you fly an angle, then those are the two situations.
But it's easy. It's easy to find out if you're affected. If you have a flight controller with the BMI 270 gyro and you're not sure if you're affected, it seems to me, Blunty, tell me if I'm off base here. I'm just making this up. If you take off, you kick it into angle mode, flat and level, go up in the air, and do like 10 or 15 rolls to the left, right? Then kick it into angle mode. And if it's still flat and level, you're good to go. Blunty? Disagree? Seem right?
I feel like it was on the yaw axis or something. Maybe that's incorrect though. Maybe I feel like it was on a certain axis.
Do yaw spins.
Yeah. I think that's probably okay to do. And the other thing I was thinking is, from my memory, it's every time you rotate, it loses a certain degree of precision.
Yep. So
in that
rotate
respect,
the same direction.
In that respect, if you could do GPS rescue, maybe if it's already good, you could test angle and then do rescue. But I don't know. Yeah, I think the idea there is that it's not something that says trustworthy. So.
Yeah. Okay. Steve Moore says, question, please. What is happening with DJI and Congress? No updates in a while. Will this affect O3 air unit and goggles? What's the name of that bill, Blunty? The ban China DJI. What is it called? The Countering CCP Drones Bill. The Countering CCP Drones Bill would prohibit DJI drones from operating on U.S. communications infrastructure, which... Well, that would include, you're like, okay, well, so what, like the internet? No, that includes the airwaves. It would effectively render the drones unusable in the U.S. Well, how would this affect, it's unclear to me whether this would affect the O3.
Yeah, the idea is that they're going to pull the FCC certs on them.
So it would affect the O3 as well.
Yeah, the current bill, my understanding is that it would pull, so they wouldn't be Part 15 anymore. That's essentially the idea.
But, well, I have a ham license. I'm good
most
to
of
go.
us don't really care, right? Like, so that's kind of like, I think it will maybe affect FPV, but I think most FPV people don't care, and most of the places you buy things like an O3 already sell you analog VTXs that aren't Part 15 anyway. So I'm not sure how much this would actually affect us.
So I think that obviously it's anytime you predict the future, you risk being made a fool, and I acknowledge that. This bill, I think, I interpret this bill as political posturing. Elise Stefanik candidate for like something, president? Rep from New York. Was she running for something? She's one of the movers
and shakers on the thing. Yeah, I know that. Like, she's one of the, like, this bill went from nothing last year to turning into a bill that will, I think, like, GovTrack has a third chance of being enacted now, and the previous bill was 3%. So
yeah,
it's Countering CCP Drones Act. Yeah.
Did she have a stroke? What's going on, Elise Stefanik? If your smile is check, see if you had a stroke, Elise. Okay, probably she actually had a stroke then. Something that I sound like a real jerk. 33% chance. That's more than I thought. That's concerning. I interpret this as political posturing, that it's, ooh, China bad. It's an election year. Let's do something radical. Like, this would be a disaster in so many ways. 33% chance of being passed is definitely concerning.
I think this one has, I'll say, just regardless of what GovTrack says, I know this has a lot more legs than the previous ones have had. So
yeah,
I think it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out and if this actually goes through. Like I said, I don't know how much it'll affect us, but DJI is going to hurt because the average consumer doesn't have a ham, so they're not going to be selling drones to people.
Yeah, they'll just keep selling drones, and they'll be like, you need a ham license. Nah, the DJI is too big to skate under the radar, like Walksnail. Walksnail doesn't have Part 15. Does Walksnail have Part 15? I don't think they do. Do they? They don't, right?
I think they do. Yeah, I looked up some of the devices. I know at least some of the devices have it. Yeah, because Yes, I think that's correct.
Okay. Analog video transmitters, fine. And they just sell them, and you're supposed to have a ham license, and most people don't, and nobody cares. But the FCC would come after DJI. They'd be like, no. So, well, keep an eye on it, I guess.
I mean, it seems like the thing that's going to happen is that there's those new companies that are like knockoff DJI, but they're actually DJI that Magtech was reporting on. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm. I did see that video. I didn't watch it.
Cogito or Cognito and
Anzu, they're just gonna start
they're companies that are building the drones in other. They're shell companies that are building the drones in other countries that are okay to build them in, but DJI is still going to do all the work. And then it's going to be fake DJI drones that are real DJI drones sold to the U.S. customers, because then they'll be legal.
The world is so
good stuff, isn't it?
DJI is banned! We banned DJI! Yeah! We did it, guys! DJI moves all their manufacturing to Jordan. Starts a new company. EJI. Okay, guys. But we banned you.
Yeah, if you thought it was about political posturing before, it's certainly about it now, when they're literally going to still be selling drones that are clearly DJI drones. I think they even use like common FCC filing information, so it like matches up. Magtech did a video on it that really covers it well.
It's so pathetic. Where'd my glasses? I lost my glasses. Where'd they go?
They're on your head.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's pathetic. Hey, Blunty, do you see that question from Danzilla? You don't have to address it right now. I just want to point it out to you. I know that there was somebody who got booted because their account was hacked. Anyway.
No, it was not them.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, then you can address that as you see fit offline. If there was somebody who got booted because their account was hacked and now they were like, oh, why'd I get booted? I'm sorry. I wouldn't like them to be out in the cold. If someone got booted for cause, that's a different story. They can just be out in the cold. They should know what they did. For those with drones over 250 grams, how many people got a remote ID module recently? All of us. Lee FPV says, I bought a couple HD0 Whoop Light VTXs. One gets range of like 10 feet on 200 milliwatts. The other I can go throughout the house. Is one of my VTXs dead? That's not right. I think you have a broken antenna. Check your antenna. Check the solder joints. I think it's I don't see any reason why like it would be misconfigured or the output power could be wrong. You should get longer than 10 feet. So. Confused. You're a moderator. You are capable of timing people out, I think. If you think someone's spamming and needs to chill, I encourage you to time them out using your own discretion. Of all the people here who I would be a little worried maybe they would come out hot and overreact, it's not you, Kim. You seem like an incredibly level-headed person. Garter Rotor may know different. But if you feel the need to time somebody out, you have my blessing. Pacific Northwest Pilot says, have you seen the Voltara 70 amp ESC? D-Shot 2400, plug and play with KISS Ultra and uses Crossfire for communication. That's cool. Yeah. Very cool. If you have a KISS Ultra, this is clearly the ESC to get. Let's see here. We had a question here from... Okay, here we go. I get to practice reading Cyrillic. Alexander Donilin. Alexander Donilin. Hello, thank you for your great work in the FPV development and for your videos. My question about fail-safe procedure and Betaflight configurator. Can we change landing to landing by barometer? No, not as far as I know. The land setting is just go to a fixed throttle, enable auto level, and hope everything works out. If you want landing by barometer, you need to use GPS rescue. And there isn't an option to just land in place without going back to the home point. How'd I do? Did I pronounce it? How's my pronunciation? Trevor K asks, what are your thoughts on the Walksnail Goggles X patch antennas? Are they any good? Trevor, I haven't used the factory patch antennas from Walksnail, so I can't speak to whether they're any good. I would want to see them tested, and I haven't been motivated enough. I don't even own them, to be honest, but I haven't seen any test videos on them. SOS Death Valley. SOS Death Valley. You've finally done it. You've been annoying enough. Now you have my attention. SOS Death Valley. This is a live stream. There are currently 600 people in this live stream, of which you are one. Now, I want you to do the math. If I was to answer one question from all of those people, how long could I devote to each individual question? Do the math. It's not a lot. The takeaway from it is that in a live stream, you do not have a right to get your specific question answered. We will pick questions that we think are interesting, and we will answer them. And if you want your question answered, there are two things you can do. And the first one is to leave a super chat. I read all the super chats. The minimum price for a super chat is $2. And if you cannot be bothered to cough up $2, maybe you don't have $2. Maybe you live in a country where the exchange rate is bad, or you can't buy super chats. Then you can just email me. My email address is public. It's jb@joshuabardwell.com if you would like. And you can email me and I will answer your question offline. But what you don't get to do is cop an attitude. Oh, I come to the live stream and no one will talk to me. You don't have a right to have an expectation that someone will want to answer your question. If you want your question answered, leave a super chat or email me. Or take the freaking hint that you've asked a question 400 times and no one's answered and shut the F up. Take the hint. The room is speaking and the room says your question isn't interesting to them. Don't get indignant about it. Get embarrassed that you have been such a jackass that you've been repeatedly yelling at a room that is ignoring you and you haven't taken the hint. Okay. Woo! Oh my God. I'm not even gonna. The question. Okay. I just looked at the questions. Okay, now seriously. Now that I got that out of my system, now you take a step back, take a deep breath, email me your question if you want, or leave a super chat. No hard feelings. Doesn't have to be a thing. Don't make it a thing. We'll put that in the past and we'll get on with our lives. Okay. 242. Let's check on the super chats. Speaking of super chats. Bloop says, I'm planning to build... See, this is how it works. You leave a super chat, I definitely will read your question. Otherwise, it's all a crapshoot. I am planning to build an 8S quad with 2207 1600 kV motors, 5125 props. Is this a good idea? Yeah, it's a great idea. It's going to fly amazing. You're going to love it. Except when you have to buy batteries. That'll be expensive. Yep, highly recommend. Dean Cosbrook, thank you for 10 Australian dollars. Can I solder a receiver on a bind and fly that's set up for DJI controller so I can use the Radio Master? Yes, almost certainly You need to make sure that the UART you connect to is not used for some other purpose. Like, for example, on the SpeedyBee boards, the DJI is on UART 2. So if you solder to UART 2, it'll conflict. But you can probably almost certainly do that. Mr. Muhraka, thank you for 30. I can never remember this. It's like, I can never remember this currency. Nevertheless, why does the Walksnail Avatar HD2 VTX with Fat Shark Dominator goggles suddenly jump to 75 milliseconds when flying about a minute? That's a bug that I ran into. When did I run into that bug? I can't remember. It was a firmware bug on some new VTX. And it would jump to 75 milliseconds and just stay there until you power cycled. I think you need to change firmware. Go to a newer firmware, or if there isn't a newer firmware, go to an older firmware. Yep, I've had that bug. I think I had that bug on a beta firmware though, so I didn't really make a big deal out of it because it wasn't released. Thank you for 40 rupees from Vikas. New to FPV, Action 2 versus GoPro 11 Mini, which is better? GoPro all day. GoPro is I mean, the DJI Action 2 is a little more durable than a GoPro, but the image quality of the GoPro is so much better. I would take the GoPro all day. Linixit, thank you for 10,000 IDR. I'm rich. IDR is Indonesian rupiah. Oh, I'm not rich. Nevertheless, Linksit, thank you for the donation. Linux asks, hey JB, I'm new to drones. I finished your liftoff playlist tutorials, races, and I'm pretty okay chasing car and liftoff with Radiomaster Boxer. Should I buy goggles and build my own drone? Yes, 100%. Need budget recommendations for a 5 or 6 inch. Definitely check out my website, fpvknowitall.com, fpvknowitall.com. If you go there and you go to 5-inch freestyle, you can find recommendations for bind and flies and parts. There's all my recommendations are there. Hmm. 100,000 rupiah can get you a nice meal in a nice restaurant and enough for a night at a simple hostel. Okay. Corrupt Syntax asks, I broke my ankle skydiving last year. I finally dropped the money on your QVS Duke kit in recovery. Vids were fun and helpful. I still smoked 2 motors and 1 ESC. Ouch. Hopefully due to user error and not like a problem with the ESC. Anyway, welcome to the club, friend. Eric Ashner, thank you for $2 and a lol. Madraw, thank you for $2. Madraw says, great to have the stream back. Thank you. Glad to be back. SOS Death Valley, thank you for a $10 super chat. Appreciate your donation. I only asked a few times. It's true. It's true. Now, I appreciate your super chat. I will hold up my end of the bargain, and I'll look at your questions, even though the super chat didn't contain a question. You're right. You asked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 questions. The reason I jumped on you was because you got indignant. You got indignant. It's a live stream. It's ongoing, and everybody here is just hanging out and talking. So anyway, I've already roasted you, though, so I don't need to get into that. Let's take a look at your questions as a thank you for your super chat. What's better, GoPro or the 360 Go? But damn, they're high price. The Insta360 Go is lighter weight, so they're not really comparable. The GoPro has better image quality, but is significantly bigger and heavier. The Insta360 Go, the big advantage is it's like in the 20-gram weight range, so you can put it on quads you can't carry a GoPro on. So what's better? Well, what quad are you putting it on? If it's a 5-inch, I'd go with a GoPro all day. If it's a 3-inch or lower, probably the Insta360 Go. Do we have a high-def VTX that's not DJI HD0 or Walksnail? Yes. No. Nope. That's basically it. There are some open source projects, but they're not really commercially viable. Hamburger, no one will answer our question. What's a good cam for drones for HD? Pretty open-ended. Pretty open-ended question. What's good, GoPro or the Insta360? Asked and answered. Asked and no reply. This is crazy. You ask for info and no one help on here. Wow, crazy. Thumbs down from me. Okay. Okay, great. We good? Thank you for the raccoon FPV who wants me to answer SOS's question. Thank you for $2. Robocopter asks, what's your take on the new Lumineer QAVS2 Johnny FPV SE 7-inch? Are braces better for that size of frame or just a gimmick? Thanks for $5. Let's take a look at that. By the way, someone saw this frame and said, Bardwell, they ripped off your frame. No. The QAVS was designed by Ryan Harrell and Santiago Espinola, I think is his last name. I came to the party and was like, hey guys, I really like this frame. Can you modify it to my specifications? So this is not a rip-off of my frame. My frame is an evolution of the same design in a different direction. But you're asking about the 7-inch, right? Is this 7-inch? 7-inch long range. Johnny FPV Special Edition 7-inch long range. That doesn't have braces. Wait a minute. SE. Yeah, there we go. That's a 5-inch. There's no braces on this one. What are you asking about braces? You asking about a 7-inch? 7-inch. Where's the 7-inch? 5-inch. Why can I not find any evidence of this frame existing? Where's the 7-inch version? That's really cute. Oh, that's for a rear-facing GoPro with adjustable tilt. Very clever. Very clever.
Pyro, the ones with I see ones with braces on Pyro and RDQ.
Why not on Get FPV? They make the damn frame.
I can't help you there.
Okay. I don't think a 7-inch should require braces. Lots of companies make 7 inches without braces and get good cinematic results. I don't think the braces hurt. They add a little weight and they add stiffness. So I don't think it's a bad thing. But if the frame requires braces to get good results, then I think that raises some questions about the design of the frame. The big question is, does Johnny fly this frame on set? That's the big question. If Johnny flies it, then he must, get good results from it. Okay. $20 from Chris. Thanks for all the help since I started. Couldn't imagine starting off without your videos. Question, is there a way to manually start and stop recording to the SD on the O3? Yes, but only from the goggles. In the goggles, you swipe down and it opens, or you press down on the joystick. Down, not click in, but press down. And it brings up the camera menu and there's a start, stop, record there. How do I know when to retire a LiPo? Is it still safe that the steel isn't broken but has some dents? Thank you for 9 New Zealand dollars, Brooke Waddall. Generally, yes. A few little bumps and dents doesn't mean anything. If the seal isn't broken, you can check the internal resistance of the cells. If it holds voltage overnight and the internal resistance is about the same on all the cells, then I would keep using it. Oh, my goodness. We have a $50 super chat here from Angel. Thank you, Angel. That's incredibly generous. I'm working on a project to make a drone accessible for a Marine with quadriplegia spinal cord injury. I'm working the presentation for potential advisors and investors. I'm thinking head tracking sensors and mouthpiece gas/brake. I think you're going to want to start that one, Angel. I think you're going to want to start with a drone that has as much autonomous flight as possible. Like, eventually, maybe this pilot will get to the point where they can fly acro mode just with head tracking. But in the beginning, you're going to want the drone to hover and then be moved as slowly and gently as possible so that you can work out the control system. So, like, probably you're not going to just get a DJI drone because DJI is not going to integrate well with the control system you're designing. But so what you're going to want to do is like get a Pixhawk flight controller or ArduPilot flight controller and build a drone with optical flow and build a drone that can just hover in place, rock steady, and then sort of work out the control system so this person can control it. Okay? That's what I would recommend. I don't want to sound, I feel a little bit like I'm pandering when I say this, but it's true. One of the most meaningful applications of FPV in my mind is the ability to take people who have a physical disability and to give them a sense of mobility that they've lost or maybe never had. The idea that someone who's been injured and they're in a wheelchair, maybe they're paralyzed, and like they're still, obviously people in wheelchairs live full, rich lives. I know people in wheelchairs, and like I don't think they feel like they're like missing out on life because of it. They're just doing their life from a wheelchair. But it's especially if you used to not be in a wheelchair and you used to participate in action sports and you're used to being able to skateboard or ride a dirt bike or all those things, and now you're in a wheelchair, a lot of times you feel like you miss that. And the ability to take an FPV drone and regain some of that mobility, or if you've never had it, maybe have that experience that is difficult for you to have another way, I think is super, super meaningful. And I've heard from so many people who say, I had an injury, whether it was in combat or whether it was because you were base jumping and you fell or something dumb like that. And now I'm in a wheelchair, and FPV, really pulled me out of depression, really gave me back a sense of mobility. Heck, as a middle-aged guy who isn't as mobile and agile maybe as he might be, it is, for me, the ability to have a sense of speed and motion, and that is great. And so I think it's really, really exciting that FPV can do that for people.
Somebody in the chat mentioned a DJI motion controller. That would be probably a decent idea, because you could use a motion controller. It would already follow head motions, and then you could use some kind of 3D printed adapter to be able to use it with the mouth, or,
That's interesting. Yeah, because the motion controller, the DJI Avata has the motion controller. And what you do is you pull a trigger to go forward. So that should be pretty easy to adapt to, like a breath controller. I'd say easy. Like it's just a potentiometer, right? So you could open up the hand controller and wire it to like a breath controller somehow. And then what you do is you move your head and you move a target in the goggles. There's like a VR AR target that you move, and the drone flies toward the target. That's got a lot of potential, actually. Yeah. And the great thing is that is an off-the-shelf system. And so you'll put the work into adapting the controls of the hand controller to this person's physical capabilities, but you won't have to build a drone from scratch. That's a good direction to go. Yeah. I mean, the motion controller is almost already exactly what you need. That's smart. Well done. We got a question here, $10 super chat. It looks like we're going to finish super chats. They're going to finish out the stream. CalRal says, I just built an AOS 3.5 Evo 1404 5000 kV on 4S. I accidentally hover tested with 2.5-inch props and it flew fine. With 3.5-inch props, it shoots straight into the air. I feel like 5000 kV is a little high for 3.5-inch props. Hang on. Like the GEP-RC Smart 3.5 has 1404 motors and 4-inch, maybe 3.5-inch props, and flies pretty good. Whoops, wrong screen. Hold on. Hello. 3850 kV. So you're at 5000 kV. I mean, I would think that would fly. That's not that much higher kV. Try putting a motor output limit on it. In Betaflight PID controller tab, put a motor output limit of 75% and see if that fixes it. Corrupt Syntax asks, I have the Walksnail Goggles X, money no object, what's better? A monitor and output via HDMI out or multiple sets of goggles to share the signal? If you're sharing with spectators, a monitor. A lot of spectators won't like having goggles on their face. Ellis for Life says, what's your opinion on the AOS Cinewhoop? Thank you for $2, AOS Life. Well, let's take a look at that. Chris Rosser branching out into the world. The AOS Cine 3.5 Evo. Typically, I don't like the style of Cinewhoop that has a pure carbon frame. The Newbie Drone Cinewhoop was an early example of this. I think that the plastic frame Cinewhoops are easier to maintain and easier to build, whereas this style of Cinewhoop ends up being a lot heavier and a lot more mechanically complex. And I'm not sure there's that much advantage to it. Like, this is going to have better prop guards. Like, you're going to actually, like with the plastic ones, a lot of times if you really slam into something, the plastic just moves out of the way. The prop guards are kind of just ornamental. Whereas something like this, like, the prop guards are really going to protect the props. But I think it's going to be heavier than a comparable plastic frame Cinewhoop, but also more versatile. So it's going to be easier to build and a little more versatile in terms of what you can put in it. But like the Cinewhoops, like the GEP-RC Cinelog 3.5, the Cinelog 3.0, like they're so good. It's hard to justify, like you have to really have a reason for choosing a Cinewhoop like this. And like the pain in the ass of building this thing, like I haven't built this one, but I've built ones like it. And it's like screws, standoff, screws, parts. And then when it's all together, yeah. Like if you look at a GEP-RC Cinelog 3.5, I have so much experience with this drone. I've done a lot of classes where I've taught people to fly with this drone. There's a particular customer who likes to use these to teach their classes. And again, the GEP-RC website's loading super slow. Like, this style of frame, right? It's a lot simpler to work with. Just prop guards go on. And if you want to maintain it, it just kind of drops out of the bottom. Let's look at the bottom view. Hello. So, like, I'm sure that there's going to be an argument. Hello? No bottom view? Okay. There's going to be an argument that Chris Rosser's version has some kind of, very good resonance characteristics. But this quad is just a great Cinewhoop. Like, I haven't heard anybody complain about this as a Cinewhoop. So, like, what are you getting by going to this style of frame? Maybe a little easier to swap parts. In terms of you can buy spares. I don't know. Versatile front and rear GoPro mounting. That's something. The ability to actually have prop guards. 3D printable ducts. Yeah, valid. You might actually want those ducts. It's got a few things going for it. Most Cinewhoops use injection molded plastic. Carbon fiber. Like, carbon fiber doesn't crack over time. Carbon fiber breaks too. Yeah. I feel like this style of all carbon Cinewhoop frame is in many ways a step backwards. But it has some advantages. I'll give it that. IB, thank you for 5 Polish zloty. IB asks, can I fly 6S 2000 milliamp hour on a Pavo 3.5? No. No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not going to say you can't, but that's awful heavy for that quad. It'll probably take off, but I don't love it. CB, thank you for a $20 super chat. Thanks for all your videos. Helped greatly in getting everything configured. Recommendations on getting used to controls moving DJI consumer drones to FPV. Picked up the TX16S. Get a simulator. Practice in the simulator. I have a Learn to Fly series that I've been releasing. I actually have 3 more videos in that series recorded that I haven't put out yet. I should put them out. They've just been in editing. Practice in the simulator. Go through my How to Fly series. Angel says, I was going to make a mistake. I was looking at DJI. I think that's an older comment, Angel, because as we said, the motion controller potentially has a lot of potential to do exactly what you want. Xscape, the iNav build video is all ready to go. Xscape, as you can see, here it is. It is literally ready to release. And I just haven't put it out yet. I actually finished uploading it this morning, and I'll probably release it on Monday. So, yeah. Robocopter, thank you for a $2 super chat. 7-inch long-range section for FPV know-it-all. I don't know about that. I have to feel like I have some solid suggestions, and I'm not there yet. Wolf Scud, thank you for a $5 super chat. Happy Easter. I recently got new props for my 5-inch. I'm getting a lot less power. It's also making a whistling sound. What is it? It could be that the prop is deflecting, although most people wouldn't describe that as a whistling sound. It's kind of like a you take off and it's whoosh, and then when you go to full throttle it goes whoosh. Anybody who's heard a deflecting prop knows that that is a surprisingly accurate impression of what it sounds like. Enjoy. Bottom line, you tried new props. They're not working out for you. Get different props. Props are cheap. Just don't fly props that don't work out for you. Do you think 2S, 3S, 4S 18350 battery packs could be a thing? I mean, I'm not going to rule it out, but 18350s are such small cells that I think you probably would be better off using a LiPo in most cases. Okay. All right, folks, that is going to bring us to the end of the stream. We are caught up on the super chats, and it is after 3:05. Aaron Ciotti is streaming right now. Aaron Ciotti, post a link, buddy. I've run long. I apologize for that. Ciotti is streaming. Good to be back. And now I will give you a link to his stream so he can jump in and you guys can head right on over there. IB, a 1550 is probably in the range of what it'd be okay with. You should try, I mean, you should try it. It might fly, especially if you don't have a GoPro. I do not see... Oh, here we go. Here's my problem. User error, as always. All right, Aaron Ciotti is streaming his Easter stream. Happy Easter, by the way, to those who celebrate the holiday. And you can head on over there. Enjoy. I am out of here. Blunty, thank you so much. Chat, thank you so much. Even the rabble who aren't in my Discord server, I still like you. I'll still hang out with you. We'll go down below decks and we'll have the party like on the Titanic when Rose and Jack go down there and they find out that the people up above the decks in the Discord server, they're kind of stuck up and stuffy anyway, right? Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.